Welcome to ABC 24 this week on this first Sunday of June. You have two opportunities every Sunday to get the real story behind the big stories at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. And we thank you for being with us today. I have a great panel today, but first let me show you our topics. And topic A is the Memphis mayor's race, as it has been for the last couple of weeks. A new poll is out showing it's a wide open field right now, but it's a former mayor who seems to be catching the attention of most voters at this point. We'll also talk about the not so special sessions from the Memphis Shelby County School Board to the state legislature. Neither body is making much progress on matters the public is demanding that they take action on. And the state of downtown Memphis. On one hand, crime continues to be a real concern, and you have big names like the Hard Rock Cafe closing its doors. On the other, you had a groundbreaking for a new art museum and a successful Memphis in May with the newly renovated Tom Lee Park. Is downtown going in the right direction or the wrong direction? We'll tackle all those topics here in a minute, but first I want to introduce my panel. Otis Sanford is ABC 24's political analyst. Thank you, Otis, for being here, as well as Sam Hardiman, commercial, that was almost a fatal mistake. Daily Memphian reporter who joins us. We appreciate you, Sam. And Tajuan Stout-Mitchell, a political consultant and also former Memphis City councilwoman, will be drawing on your experience there. Sam, you broke the story of the Memphis mayoral poll this week, which is, I think, is getting a little more credibility, a little more respect than the last one we've been talking about. And it's just interesting, the numbers, because it really shows that it is a wide open field. And I'll let you take it after we go through the numbers here. First of all, the undecided number jumps out at you, that nearly half the voters in Memphis have not decided. And I might add, we're only 4 months out from the election. Willie Harrington, 13%, Floyd Bonner, 9%, Van Turner, also 9%, and Paul Young, the head of the Downtown Memphis Commission, also very close at 8%. So first of all, your thoughts on the poll, and then your interpretation of where you think the race stands right now.
Well, I think my interpretation of the race is that top line number of 48%, right? This is wide open, and we shouldn't draw much conclusion from this at all, except that former Mayor Willie Harrington, who has had the most votes for Memphis mayor in the city's history, has the highest name ID, and he got 29% of the vote against the popular incumbent last time. This shouldn't be surprising to really anyone. I think that's really my broad takeaway is. And he was also within the margin of error in the Greater 901 Initiative poll, which, skewed largely towards white voters. And so it's not surprising that he's showing strength in this poll.
And Otis, people don't seem to be bothered at all by the fact, at least those who are supporting him right now, that he's already been in office for many, many terms, and he'd be in his 80s if elected mayor. So
he's already in his
80s. Yeah. So, but that doesn't seem to be a deterrent anymore, no matter what the office is, from president on down.
Well, that's true. I mean, his base of support, whatever number you want to put it at, 20, 25%, 26, 27%, they are going to stick with him no matter what, because they are looking at nostalgia here. They look at what he did to win the election back in 1991. He was a strong mayor, and that's what they want. But this is going to be a race where that 48% is the key here. And one of the other candidates is going to have to distinguish him or herself and make a case to the voters about where they want to take this city. And they should be focusing on the future of Memphis, the long-term future of Memphis, my ideas for what I think this city should and will accomplish under my leadership. And the person who can do that most effectively, I think, can chip away at the 20 to 25% loyalty that Dr. Harrington has.
I do think people just want to hear a vision from somebody.
They want to hear something from somebody.
Tajuan, you're the political consultant among us here. I'm just struck by the fact that we are 4 months out, and early voting will be starting before that. And really no candidate, where I'm not seeing any advertising really, not a lot of yard signs, there's not a lot of effort to get name recognition out there for those who have some work ahead of them when it comes to that. It's hard to get behind a candidate if they're not showing a little more excitement about running for mayor.
Well, I agree, and it's been disappointing that we see so little activity and so little information on where people stand on different issues. Now, one thing I will give Dr. Harrington credit for, he came out the gate talking about an agenda. And that's where people are, and nobody is talking about an agenda. I don't know who the winner is going to be because we have so much of the race to move forward on. But I will say this, it's mighty surprising that the person who's raised the least amount of money is leading the pack.
And by a long shot, the least amount of money. Sam, in fact, you wrote a story kind of likening when Mr. Harrington kicked off his campaign this week, likening what he had to say to what would be his predecessor, Jim Strickland. You call it Jim Strickland 2.0. There were a lot of similarities in what he had to say.
There are a lot of similarities, and definitely when it came to the language and the rhetoric used on crime, right? Former Mayor Harrington, essentially picked up the baton for Mayor Strickland and essentially criticized new bail reform measures that were put in place this year. And, without using the phrase revolving door, which is what the current mayor's used, he said, there has to be some tough love. And he really was, he allowed and talked about the need for police reform. At the same time, he came and really attacked the police reform measures the Memphis City Council passed, which the current mayor does not agree with. And so there was a lot of similarities. And I think what it shows, and I think we have two politicians here in Harrington and Strickland that have shown a unique ability to kind of gauge where the public is. And I think both of them don't speak the way they do without thinking, where's the collective public at?
Mm-hmm. I do want to add, though, that we've seen two of the candidates, Paul Young and Michelle McKissick, have both put in place a mechanism to respond to things that are current events in city government and have a response to them, so you will know where they are.
That is so true. I'll get emails from the Paul Young campaign and the Michelle McKissick campaign almost every day, or certainly if there's any kind of development in the city. Even the groundbreaking for the Brooks Museum yesterday, I got an email from Michelle McKissick's campaign. So those are two campaigns that are making more of an effort to get out there. But Otis, as you read the tea leaves here, what are your thoughts about when we're going to start seeing some, I don't know, activity?
Well, I mean, obviously early voting starts in when?
September 15th.
September, so we still have some time here. I mean, the filing deadline is not until July, right?
20th.
Yeah, so we still have some time here, and I think a lot of these candidates are keeping their money that they have collected, keeping them close to the vest, and spring something right after July 4th. That's the way I see it. But I've said this before, Richard, and I'll say it again. A lot of this depends on whether young voters are going to be energized enough to participate in the city election. Hadn't happened in the last 3 or 4 election cycles, but this has the opportunity to do that. We've already seen young people be energized around Justin Pearson, for example. And if I were a smart candidate, I'd be getting him to endorse me and try to encourage some young people to do it. Absent that, people like Dr. Harrington are going to keep that name recognition, and a small number, a small turnout will mean that he has a great chance to win.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say is how many people, if we look at Paul Young and being at 8% in this poll, in the greater 901 poll, he's right around there as well. One of the things we got to keep in mind here is how many people beyond those that cover the news and are in downtown Memphis knew who Paul Young was 6 months ago. Right. I don't think that many people. And so I think we are seeing some strength and some ground game from Paul Young, who just opened up his headquarters last weekend.
Right.
And how long that momentum lasts, and now that it's clear that Bonner and Turner are in the race because of residency, can he keep his fundraising advantage? We'll see. But I think Paul Young has made some moves here.
He's spending a lot of money too, though.
And he's been very active getting around town, I'm told, and meeting with a lot of civic groups and that kind of thing. Still, though, I'm still struck that not only one candidate is in the double digits in this latest poll. There's a lot of open room there.
But I'm just going to be honest with you. People are more focused on what's happening in this city and not so much, and realizing that we don't have much information on where the leadership wants to take us. Right. And so they want to hear that. And I do think if you take advantage of this public, they will sit at home. You need to, if you have a base, you need to fire up your base and let them know what your message is, and let them know how that message will impact their lives. But with so many people in this race, and it's a crowded field, they may just stay at home if you don't energize the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that 48% contains some people who are probably just not going to vote at all. That's what I believe. Tajuan is absolutely right. Somebody has to distinguish themselves and try to connect with voters in a way that energizes them, and then have the ground game to get those voters out to the polls.
Well, I think if we had a theme for the show, it would be energized, or lack of energy. Because not only the mayor's race, but there's a lack of energy behind the Memphis Shelby County School Board, as well as state lawmakers, and we'll talk about what that's all about right after this.